And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
I love dice. I have whole drawers full of dice. 100-sided dice, 12-sided dice, 4-sided dice, 5-sided dice, 6-sided dice, 7-sided dice, 8-sided dice. Don't have a 9-sided die yet. Come on now. 10-sided, 12, 24, 25, 30, 20. It's just really cool to have all these dice available to play with. I also love deck building games, especially Dominion, which I got right here. It's a great deal of fun. So, when I had a chance to play the new Quarriors, and really it's hard for me to say that name without saying something to the effect of Quarriors, come out and play, or this is Quawsome. Whatever. Ignore the name. Look at the game. The game is a lot of fun. Spectacular. One of the best games of the year. Am I giving my opinion too early? Let's take a look at it. The first thing you'll notice is that there is a stinking ton of dice in this game. I mean, this is fabulous. This is the thing I like the best about the game. I love dice. As soon as I saw this, I was enamored that there was this many dice in the game. Now, some people have complained about the size of the dice. If these are the two dice that I use most often. This is the Fantastic Dice Tower die, and this is the dice that I often like to roll in games, especially when I'm rolling large quantities. And you can see that this die here falls somewhat in between those two sizes. Now, that could be bad, and in fact, you'll notice that some of the dice, it could be, well, of course, if the camera would focus, that would help. Stop looking at the dice behind us. You can see that sometimes it might be hard to see the numbers, but it's not that difficult. The only one where I ran into a real problem is with this yellow die. On some of the cylinders, it has a 2 in the middle, and other ones it has a 1 in the middle. But basically, the 1's easy to read, the 2's not. So if it's easy to read, it's a 1. Otherwise, it's a 2. But be that as it may, it's neat. They're all different colors. Again, this is just like someone who loves dice. This is just a fantastic thing to look at. So, what you're going to be doing in this game is each player is going to be getting a dice bag of their color. And into this dice bag, they're going to be putting dice. Now, there's different kinds of dice, but you're going to be starting with some basic dice. There are 3 basic dice, and these dice are used in every game. There's Portal dice, there's Basic Quiddity, and there's the Assistant. And yes, let's get this out of the way. The stupid... all the naming of this is just dumb, I think. Quarriors, Quiddity, Quarry, Quoque, whatever. So, you're going to get some basic Quiddity that you're going to be putting into your bag. And you're also going to get some of the assistants. So you're going to put all these dice into your bag. You're going to get 8 and 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 4. And this is the dice that you will start with. These dice go into your bag and you'll be shaking them up. And you're going to be drawing dice from this bag as the game progresses. I would have liked the bags to be a little bit bigger. You know, I got a big fat hand and it doesn't fit in here as easily as I like. But hey, whatever. I just dump them in my hand anyway when I'm pulling them from the bag. Now, the extra dice are put by the card that stands for them. So you can see there's 5 portal dice that are used in every game. The leftover Quiddity and the leftover assistant dice are put here. And these cards are useful for a couple reasons. At the bottom of a card, it shows you all 6 sides of the die. So you can see, you don't have to pick up the dice and look at them. You can just simply look at the bottom and see. It also tells you what the symbols on those dice mean. After players put out these 3 basic, you're going to go through a deck of cards here. And you're going to draw some creatures. You're going to put out 7 creatures. 1, 2, 3. Except, see, this creature here and this creature are the same. They're going to use the same dice. So when I draw this one, since I've already drawn this creature already, I'm going to put this one back into my hand. And I'm going to keep drawing until I have 7 different kinds of creatures. And what's interesting about that is it allows the game to have multiples of the same creatures, but basically each die can do different things. Some of the dice have little stars in them. Let's see if I can find one with a star on it. For example, this die here. In the bottom left-hand corner, you see a star, an asterisk there, and that means that has a special ability. And I look at the matching card, and I see what that star does, and it gives you the special ability. So then once you put out the 7 creatures, then you'll take some spell cards, and you're going to draw 3 spell cards and do the same thing. Again, there's multiple spell cards, but eventually you are going to have 10 cards besides your basic 3 cards out here in the middle of the table. Once you get these cards out here, you're then going to find the dice that match each of the card and put them next to the card so that players will see how many of the dice are left over. Once you have all the dice out, you're going to take a glory board, and next to that you're going to put a cube in each player's color. Now I will say that in bad lighting it's difficult to tell blue from black. And the bags, it's difficult to tell the green from the black bag. But, well, be that as it may. It's not the end of the world. So here's how the game works. On your turn, at the beginning of your turn, you are going to delve into your bag, and you're going to pull out 6 dice. This is your active pool. And I look at the dice that I roll. Hoorah! I then roll those dice. Now, these teardrop symbols are quiddity. So, for example, here I rolled 6 quiddity on my dice. Quiddity is essentially money. You're going to use that to buy dice. Now, you may only buy 1 other die per turn. And each die has a cost. You can see the cost of this one is 5, the cost of this one is 4, the cost of this one's 4, the cost of this one's 3. Some of them are more. There's one that costs 9, etc. So you're allowed to buy 1 die, and the basic quiddity, you can always buy those for 0. So you can always get something on your turn, but you're only allowed to buy 1. So let's say I buy one of these purple dice that cost me 5. There's no change. So that die will go into my use pile as well as all the quiddity that I used to cast it. Now, if I had rolled a creature, for example, here's a creature. This is the assistant creature. I'm allowed to basically summon that creature in front of me. Each creature has 3 numbers. In the top left-hand corner, here is the cost of the creature. That's how much quiddity I need to use to cast it. In this game, all the creatures have a cost of 1, 2, or 3. Most of them 1 or 2. So it's very easy to cast 1 or more of these creatures per turn. Then the top and bottom numbers is both the attack and defense. When you summon a creature, it attacks every other creature on the board. And if your combined attack is equal to another creature's defense, you can destroy those creatures. They basically go to that player's used pile. They can decide which creature takes the hit. So if there's someone with high defense, they can suck up the hit first. But if you're powerful enough, you can destroy 1 or more of their dice when you put out these creatures. This is the assistant. He's not very powerful, but you can see that later on, like this guy, he's a 1-3-2, not as useful. But here's a 2-4-4. So you can see that the dice get more powerful as time goes by. And every die has quiddity on it, so you're always going to be getting money. So you put these creatures in front of you. If those creatures are still in front of you at the beginning of your next turn, then you can discard them, or you have to discard them, and you will get glory points. Each creature gives a certain amount of glory points, which is indicated on the card. The assistant, the one you start with, let's move these, you can see that they give 1 glory each. But several of the other cards, there's one for 2 glory, these purple ones give 3 glory, 3 glory. There's even cards that give 4 glory. For the creatures, so if you have these creatures in front of you, you can get glory points. Spells act a little differently than creatures. When you cast a spell, you just put that spell in front of you, and you can use it when you want to. Although some spells are reacts to other people playing cards. Some can attach themselves. Like this one, you can attach to a creature, and it gives them a +3 attack and +3 defense. This spell you simply cast to give yourself 3 glory. And this spell here gives you 2 quiddity, and lets you capture an extra die this turn. Other dice, like the portal dice, when you roll this symbol, lets you draw another die from your bag and roll that, or draw 2 more dice from your bag and roll that. So there's different symbols that mean different things. In fact, some of the creature dice will have special abilities on them too that you get when you play them or cast them, etc. And what I think is really neat is if they wanted to, they could post a mini expansion for this game simply by making more cards that match the different creatures. And each card would have different special abilities, and that's all that would have to change. Or they could add in more dice with more cards. So this game is infinitely expandable. I should mention that the case for the game is okay. I mean, I like the fact that it looks like it's a giant die, and it has this sleeve on which we will gladly hurl, if I can get it off. Alright, Vasel, there we go. Sleeve is off. So I put on here, yay, it looks like a giant die. Woo, that's pretty cool, right? It is cool. But it's not the best storage solution. The game comes with a ton of little plastic bags for each of the 5 dice. I've gotten rid of all those and just thrown the dice into the bottom of the container. And then a little container on top with more cards and where you put your cubes for the glory points. The whole thing packages well, but I mean, if they add more dice and cards, I'm going to have to find another container. And in fact, I will likely use some of my leftover HeroScape plastic things to put the dice in eventually, at some point. But for now, the whole thing sets up and goes down very easily. The game is over when one player gets a certain amount of glory points. And for 4 players, it's 12 glory points. For 3 players, it's 15. For 2, it's 20. Now, at first, you think 12 is really low for a 4-player game. And it can make a 4-player game very quickly. However, in a 4-player game, creatures die more often. However, I would recommend just playing to at least 15 with 4 players, because someone could very luckily get to 12 quickly and your game could be over. But the game does play very quickly. I should mention one more thing. Whenever you score a creature, not a spell, whenever you score a creature and they get glory points for you, you're also allowed to cull a dice from your use pile. So if you don't want to use a die anymore, you can get rid of it. Usually you're getting rid of basic quiddity. Sometimes you get rid of assistance. In fact, you can get rid of all your dice except 6 and just keep pulling the same 6 from the bag, because when you run out of dice, you put all your used dice back in the bag and pull. So it's very similar to Dominion in those styles games. But hey folks, it's dice. So there you have it. Okay, like I said, I think that it plays much better with 2 players than it does with 3 and 4. Although, I mean, I'm good with 3 and 4. I'm glad they didn't go higher, 5 and 6. I'll have no problem playing with anyone. The dice might be a little bit too small for some people. There's always, of course, the luck of the dice. And some of the very powerful dice, like a dragon die, you know, when you get one of those into your hand, it does feel like you have a big advantage. There's not as much of a combo thing here as a just pull the dice out and roll and see what you get, and that's cool. All that aside, I love this game. Absolutely love it. I think it's infinitely expandable with more dice and cards. I think it's tons of fun to roll the dice. I think there's lots of different options. It's already tons of options as you pull out the different creatures. Are going to be different every time. Just a lot of fantastic fun inside this box. So I give this a very high recommendation. I have a prediction that it's going to be one of the hottest games of the year. People are going to enjoy it. Is there going to be a better dice building game at some point? I would not be surprised. But this is the first, and it's very enjoyable for what it is, so check it out.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.